All right, everybody, here we are looking at the first topic, inventions in big business. All right, just a quick little visual. That's me and my lemonade stand. I'm selling lemonade for 25 cents a glass, so if you're thirsty, come get some lemonade. Business is going well, right? I have steady flow of profit. Right? Then all of a sudden, these big giant corporations come in, and these corporations, let me get my pen. These corporations, they're going to be able to come in. You're going to see they can start to lower their prices and drive me out of business, which, as we know, wouldn't be a good thing. Right. Looking first at the economy in the United States, right, it's what we refer to as a free enterprise system. Right? And it sounds just like the word free, meaning people have choices. Right? The business is owned by private citizens. All right? The government doesn't play a role in it at all. And they compete with one another in order to make business. So the way they compete is by lowering prices. So if we looked at 3 different lemonade stands, right, you as a consumer, as a purchaser, you have choices. You have 3 different choices as to who you want to buy lemonade from. So in order to compete with each other, this lemonade stand might drop their price to 20 cents. So you're going to buy your lemonade from there. The other ones then are going to in turn drop their price as well. So it's good for us that those businesses compete with one another. And we're going to see in this topic, right, that's not always the case. Right? What spurs on this new, this burst in industry? Right, it's going to be a lot of the new inventions, right? And there's just a simple way of remembering the 4 major industries that pop up because of these new inventions. So ROSE is the key word, R-O-S-E, railroads, oil, steel, and electricity. Right, with Thomas Edison's doing his thing at this time, electricity with the light bulb, right? Alexander Graham Bell and the telephone, the automobile starting to starting to arrive on the scene. And then this is just an interesting graph. A patent is permission from the government to control your invention, to mass produce your invention. So this is the number of patents that are issued during this time period. So you can see the general trend of this graph. That's a terrible arrow. But the general trend of this graph is it's going up, meaning that more inventions are being created, which leads to more industries being created as well. All right. We have 2 new practices. Right? The first one is referred to as mass production. That's simply making things in large amounts. For instance, like the automobile. Right? If you have one worker making one car, the cost of that car is going to be very high, and then in turn the price is going to be high because businesses want to make money. But if you are making, you have a lot of workers making a lot of cars at the same time, this is where the assembly line comes in, right? So maybe just make that a mental note, the assembly line, because we will come back to it in a couple units. It allows businesses to make goods in a large number, which drastically lowers their costs. Right? The other one is the Bessemer process. Now this deals with steel. Right? Andrew Carnegie is going to make use of this and become the steel tycoon. Just a couple factors there on the right. So if you need to pause, definitely do that. Right? Couple interesting graphs here. Right? We're going to focus in on 2 specific industries. Right, and how industrialization kind of changed them. So steel and oil, because when we look at 2 tycoons or robber barons, we're going to look at Carnegie and Rockefeller, which would be steel and oil. So the general trend of both of these graphs is that they go up. All right, they drastically go up because of industrialization. Right, so they become these huge booming industries, and everybody is looking to buy them. All right, so here's your first key question. What is the free enterprise system? What were some new inventions that led to new industries? And how did mass production change the way businesses operated? So pause it, go back if you need to. Okay, so let's start looking at some of the tycoons, some of the individuals from this chapter, right? So there's a bunch of them, but we really kind of key in on 2, which would be, where's my pen? Which are these 2 right here. Vanderbilt, he's going to be trains. Right, we'll touch on trains a little bit later. Let me finish writing trains since I already started. Right, but really Rockefeller with the oil industry and Carnegie with the steel industry. Right, if we look at it in a little bit more specific terms, right? What did Andrew Carnegie do that made him, so important? What did Rockefeller do that made him so important? So we'll do Carnegie first. Okay, like I said, it was steel. He's going to form what's known as a monopoly of the steel industry, and it's just like the board game, right? The object of the board game, even though we're not allowed to play it in the Ross house anymore because I was a sore loser one day, but the idea is to own as much property as possible. If you own all of a particular color, you get to control the rent. Same idea with business. If you can control an entire industry, you now can control what prices you sell them at. So he uses a monopoly version called vertical integration, and I have a graph that will look at that, right? But I just want you to see, based on these two, right? They both form monopoly. Sorry, there's his Homestead steel mill for Carnegie. All right, I want you to understand that both these guys use ruthless tactics to take over their industries. They're forming trusts, they're forming monopolies, they're driving the small lemonade stand, right, the small businesses, out of business. So looking first, right, here would be two examples. All right, U.S. Steel was Carnegie, and Standard Oil was Rockefeller. So Carnegie uses, he controls everything in the steel process from beginning to end. So he'll control all the iron mines in an area, and then he'll work his way all the way up to the steel. The railroads, the coal mines, everything you need in order to produce steel, he is going to control in one area, right? Versus, so it's up and down from beginning to end. A horizontal integration or horizontal monopoly, which is what Rockefeller has, right? You're controlling just one level, right? In a large area as well. So he'll control all of the oil refineries, on the east coast of the United States, and that allows him to control what the prices are going to be. So two different ways, but they ultimately both have the same goal in that they allow you to control the industry, right? So it may sound like these guys were terrible people, but that's not always the case, okay? They're what are referred to as philanthropists, meaning they donate, I lost my pen, I don't know where it went, right? Meaning that they help people. They give to charities, all right? And these guys were so wealthy that they actually have to pay people to help them give, give their money away. So they're sponsoring libraries, they're sponsoring universities, opera houses, things like that. All right, and Carnegie and Rockefeller are two of them. So we're going to take ourselves a little field trip here. So sit back and enjoy the ride.
Okay, in case you couldn't tell by the background, we're located here at Port Jervis Free Library?
The Free Library, the public free library.
And when I think of libraries, I can't think of anyone else than my favorite person, Mrs. Kirkhouse.
It's me, here at the public library. Why are we at the public library, you may ask yourself? Well, Mr. Ross has been talking about the robber barons and the captains of industry and all those people that were like the Bill Gates of their time.
Ooh,
and the reason why we're here is because, in case you never realized it, this is a Carnegie library. His name is actually on the building, and there's actually a plaque inside that we're going to go see in a minute. But the reason why is because Andrew Carnegie, who was not really the nicest guy to his workers, was an awesome philanthropist and believed very strongly.
One of your vocabulary words.
Philanthropist. Say it again. Philanthropist. Say it with me. Philanthropist.
It's a funny word to say.
Yes, it is a very funny word to say. So, as you know, a philanthropist is somebody who gives away his money. And Andrew Carnegie really firmly believed in education, and from that stemmed his love of libraries. And during his time, he gave away what would be now $4.8 billion with a B dollars to fund public libraries all across the United States and Canada. And Port Jervis was lucky enough to receive one of those libraries. So the fact that you can come to Port Jervis Free Library and get your stuff for free with your library card, really, you need to thank Andrew Carnegie, robber baron, and what? Philanthropist!
We're in front of the portrait inside the main hall of the library. This is Andrew Carnegie. Now, you may not know, but he was an immigrant. He came from Scotland, and I think that's why I like him more than John D. Rockefeller.
So we're being quiet because we're in the library, because it's different than the library at the middle school. But you'll note too that the picture is of him holding a book, which is very significant since he gave all his money to universities and libraries. And in fact, some of the universities he gave his money to are still using his money today. That's how rich he was.
All right. We're back. Here's your key question, all right? What was a robber baron and what were monopolies trusts? Robber barons were like those tycoons. Carnegie and Rockefeller were two examples, right? How did they change business? And then I just gave you the hint. Who were the two big examples there? All right, corporations. What makes corporations so much different? Remember we were talking at the beginning about my lemonade stand versus my the two big businesses that come in. Okay, well corporations, they're actually big, gigantic businesses that almost have unlimited power. All right, they sell off ownership to shareholders. All right, so they can constantly raise money in order to buy new machines and purchase new factories and things like that. The whole idea of a corporation, just like any other business, is to make money. And if you buy stock in that corporation, okay, you now get to share in the profit or share in the money that the company makes. All right, quick little visual. All right, we have inventions down here and big business. So looking at some of the characteristics that lead to that. And your final key question should be key question number 3. Sorry, it says key question 2. What were corporations and how did they work? And then how is this different from traditional businesses? All right, go back if you need to. So this should be number 3. Sorry, go back and change that.